IVM.
Hello everyone, welcome back. You're listening to a brand new episode of the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok, a podcast of, for and by the millennials. I'm your host Shlok.
And I'm co-host Tanvi Lad. Hi Shlok, what's up?
Nothing much, Tanvi. As again, we are recording in the middle of the week. So yeah, just trying to get rid of the midweek blues.
Yeah, and pretty excited to have on the show today none other than Rajiv Ouseph. Welcome, Rajiv. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, yeah, no problem. Pleasure to be here.
I mean, to all our listeners out there, Rajiv, of course, needs no introduction. He's, of course, has represented England at, the Commonwealth Games. He's multiple times national champion. Won Commonwealth Games silver medal, and is now the coach for Team GB.
Also, he's a former European champion. So please put that. I think it's a big feather in his cap.
The list is long. Is long, but fun fact. Before we get started, I am lucky enough to have been to the same university as you, Rajiv.
Oh, God.
We were both from Lafra.
You were probably there a lot longer than I was, actually.
God. Tanvi and her, attachment to her school and college. I'm sick and tired of it. Every time she'll put something for her school, and then she'll you're part of the same college. I'm like, yeah, enough.
I mean, that just talks volumes, right?
Yeah, volumes. I agree. Also, Rajiv is also a part-time fantasy football expert.
Before I joined your league, I was an expert. But
So I remember Rajiv telling us that every year before he would play that this year is our year. This is my year. Yeah. And he finishes 12th on the table. Yeah. So Rajiv, hopefully this year is a better year for you.
Yeah. Always fingers crossed.
All right. So let's jump right into it then. So to start with, I mean, you've of course had an illustrious career for the past so many years, and now you've moved on to a new role, which is donning the role of, almost like you said, the boss of the English national team unofficially. So how's the transition been like?
I think for me, when I was still playing, it was a natural thing to go into coaching. I was always very interested in that side of things. So it's probably been a bit more difficult than I thought. There's a lot of things as a player that you don't realise goes on as a coach, I think. And when you're a player, you're very just focused on your own career, rightly so, because you obviously want to get the best out of yourself. But yeah, as a coach, I think there's a lot more factors to deal with, a lot more players and personalities to deal with. I think that's the thing for me. Like, I think on-court coaching is probably the easy part. It's everything else that goes around that with, how to deal with players, how to deal with ups and downs, and that sort of stuff. And just, trying to use my own experiences, not too much because I don't think players want to hear that much about that, but trying to use my own experiences to help them and make their sort of badminton journey enjoyable, but also rewarding as well. So, yeah.
On that point, I remember Hans on our show talking about man management skills and how Kenneth is so good at managing every player at the Danish national system. Is it something which you are also coming to terms with?
Yeah, actually, because obviously Kenneth coached me as well. So I think for me, it's like getting the best of all the coaches I had and trying to model that, like myself around that. So I'll try and take the best parts of all the coaches and then also put my own spin on things. But yeah, man management is a big thing. And actually, I spoke to Kenneth a little bit at last year's All England, just asking him about when he first started coaching me and what his initial thoughts on me were. And he gave me a few more honest answers now than he did back then. But yeah, I think it's very important to deal with the players individually and not just treat them all as one, because everyone's slightly different. So yeah, so it's a very important part of the job, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even we were speaking to Anup Sridhar on a previous episode, and I happen to train under him even now. And one of the things he reiterates quite often is that as a coach, it's player first. I mean, when you're a player, you're quite selfish to start with, and then now as a coach, you need to leave your ego at home and serve the player. That's the mantra every day.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with that. I think, I know Anup well. Like, we trained with him a bit in India when I came over to Prakash's academy before the Beijing Olympics, I think. So, yeah, I think he's got it spot on there. It's very much, I think, obviously, he was a very top player as well. So he could easily have a big ego and, make everything about him as a coach. But, yeah, it's very, very true what he says about, having the players' needs first. And then, obviously, you need to be strict and stern at times because players sometimes don't want to do the right training or the right volume of training and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's an important point he's made. So
let's just go back, a bit into the past. 3 stints at the Commonwealth Games, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
You did 2010, 2014 and 2018.
Yeah.
2010, you got the silver medal, if I'm not wrong, in the men's singles.
Yeah.
But you were probably playing at one of your best levels in 2014.
Yeah.
And 2 really close losses, right? Semi-finals to Parupalli Kashyap in 3, coming back and playing a bronze medal match the same evening.
Yeah.
Obviously, very close match, losing to Guru in the 3rd. Mentally, how was it for you to come out of it? Because considering fact that it was in GB, right?
Yeah,
and you had a lot of expectations that you were probably playing one of your best badminton. How did you come out of that?
Yeah, I think it's weird. I mean, see, me looking back now, like I said, I've played three Commonwealth Games, and I would say that's the best I've played out of all 3, but I didn't get an individual medal. So it's probably a bit tough to look back on. That day was very, very, very tough day for me, losing 2 close 3-set matches. But as much as I didn't want to at the time, I think you look back and learn from those losses quite a lot. I'd like to think I learned for when I played in Australia, because as soon as I lost the first semi-final match against Shrikant, then I was, very focused on that bronze medal match against Pranoy. And
saving 2 match points, obviously.
Yeah, and I think he was probably in a similar situation to me, because he went to 3 with Liu Chongwei, could have won that game, and then had to play again later that evening. So that experience probably did help me. Obviously, that extra 1 or 2%, like you said, it was match points, is very close. So yeah, I think it's just trying to learn from those experiences as much as possible. I mean, Delhi was my first multi-sport event, and that was a big experience for me. And I walked around the village with Nathan Robertson, who's a very decorated athlete and had won the Commonwealth Games, and everyone seemed to know him from other sports from England. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then he was the flag bearer as well, so we managed to be front of the opening ceremony. So yeah, that whole experience I think was just very cool, and just tried to sort of soak it all in, and I felt like I learned from that for the next two games. But yeah, that middle one still, I felt like I had a very good chance to win in Glasgow, but yeah, it just wasn't to be, and obviously good for Kashyap that he managed to win.
So going back to your days, I mean, at the National Centre as a player, you had probably just Toby to spar with. How did you kind of manage that aspect? Was it just the doubles players helping you out?
I think obviously when I first came in, I was one of the younger players, and there was a few older players, so that was it was easy for me. I could just train and play with better players.
You had Andrew then back then. I think Andrew was the leading men's singles player. I think.
He wasn't there all the time, but he was there sometimes. But yeah, there was a few other.
Carl Baxter.
Carl Baxter. So me and Carl were, at that time when we came in, a similar sort of level, similar age. So we're still best friends now. So we were always very close and always trying to push each other to become better. So that was our philosophy of just trying to, if we sort of attack it as a team rather than, I know we're individual singles players, but if we kind of us against everyone else in Europe at that time, which is what we were kind of thinking, then that would try and take us quite far. So yeah, that was the philosophy. And then obviously Toby came in to help, and there's a few more younger players. But yeah, I think I mixed that with playing with a few of the doubles players, just to get different type of training and different sort of speed. And around that sort of mid-20s for me was the time that I felt like the game was transitioning a little bit from longer rallies into everyone just attacking everything and being good in the mid-court. And yeah, that's where those skills came in very useful when training with the doubles players.
Yeah, one of the things, I mean, I trained in England for a bit under Steve, and one of the things I found as a huge, change in training style was that in India we spend a lot more time on court, and it's a lot of the skill work and a lot of routines, and it's just hours and hours of practice. Whereas with Steve, it was like short and crisp, but like super intense, and even some of the work in the gym, the bike, the stuff was quite hard.
Yeah.
Was that something because to start with, the skills and was something, the technical side was something you were gifted with. So was that something you had to, kind of work at through your career?
Yeah, I think like for me, I was, very comfortable on court in terms of training because like you said, I probably thanks to my dad, I had some good badminton skills, specific skills, and I didn't enjoy anything else off court at all when I was young. Very, very, very much like didn't enjoy the weights or anything like that. But yeah, I think when I first came in, Steve was the coach, Steve Butler. So yeah, he was very big on, the bikes. He loves a bike. So he was really pushing me to do that.
Yeah, he loves the bike.
So yeah, he was pushing me to do that. And yeah, I think that's important now. Like a very important part of the game is to be good at the on court, but also be good at physical. You see pretty much every event now, and you've got to last for 1 hour plus at good intensity, good level. So yeah, I think there's a difference in philosophy probably between Europe and Asia. I think Europe are definitely a lot more sort of shorter sessions, but try and go a bit more intense. And then the Asian philosophy probably is a bit more, longer sessions, more time on court, and then do your like on court fitness, physical training while being on court rather than a lot of gym stuff and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's slightly different, but you can't sort of say that the Asian way is not working because they've got world number one in pretty much every event. So
yeah, true. But we do someone like Momota or even Victor for that matter. They train quite hard even during an event. I mean, I've seen Momota train, early morning. He's running for an hour.
Momota changes a t-shirt. He does 45 minutes of drop and dribble. The coach is also doing 45 minutes drop and dribble. Yeah. Just before the matches, he would take out his shirt and then he would wear a new t-shirt. And I'm like, what?
And he's trained in the gym in the morning.
Also. So yeah,
I think that was something that definitely came in whilst I had started, like in the middle of my career. I remember when Kenneth came in to England and. Yeah, so obviously me and Carl we were just like, oh yeah, we're just resting before my game's at 8 p.m. I'm just going to just do nothing in bed all day. And then Kenneth's like, no, we're training at 7. I was like, 7 a.m.? And he was like, yeah, 7 a.m. We're going to train. And I was like, okay, but won't I be tired? And he was just like, no, we're going to go and train. And so yeah, that philosophy came in sort of, whilst I was in there. And I think it's something that we're trying to, get the players to do now is, train through it all because you're on tour for basically over half of the year. So if you don't train for that time, then you're not going to improve. So you have to find a way of doing that. And I think I had another example of that sort of thing we were talking about Momota. We were in China Open and actually me and Hans had lost first round, Hans Christian. So we were just training together in the practice hall. And Jan Jorgensen was about to play his second round match and he just said, can I join in with you for practice? And we were like, but you're going to go on in a minute. And he said, yeah, you just feed me a set of 2v1 defense, but go as hard as you can. And that'll be my warm up. And we did that for about 15, 20 minutes. And I was just like, okay, so this is slightly different to my warm up that I would normally do. 15, 20 minutes of 2v1 defense before he goes on. So yeah, just a bit of an eye opener for me of how those top guys used to approach matches and training during the tournaments.
True, yeah. Just talking in terms of match prep, I want to take a parallel. Now that you're a coach, the match prep still remains the same, right? It's probably more.
Yeah.
I just want to understand, like you just went for the European Senior Championships. Yeah. What is the kind of prep you're doing with the athletes? Say if you're having a match tomorrow and, we both are playing in the team tomorrow, what's the kind of prep you're going through a day before the match?
It's probably a little bit different now, actually, with the virus, because obviously you can't be too close for too much time. So generally, I would try and watch some video separately and then together. And then I'd probably ask the players what they think the tactics should be. And then I'd, come with some of the things that I think as well. And then we kind of pull it together and then just reinforce that before the match starts. So that would be the tactics. But yeah, I think now we can't do the things together too much. So we'd kind of do it separately. And then when we're at the hall, we'll just kind of go over what they think and then what I think. And I like to ask the players what they think first, because if I say what I think first, then they'll generally always say, yeah, I agree with that. That's what they'll say, because that's what I used to say. So, I always like to see what they think and get an idea of how they see the game, and then kind of just go from there, really.
Yep. So, no, because I remember you playing Sameer Verma at the Glasgow World Championships, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And, I can't recall the name of the coach who was sitting behind, but I remember because we lost a day earlier. We came in the morning because the food at the players' lounge was very good. So we were there. And in the same bus, your coach was there. And I remember him watching Sameer's match. I think he watched 3-4 of matches of his. He was writing it down. And then in the next bus, you came in, and before your match prep started, you were sitting with him and you were having a chat with him.
Yeah.
And you beat him comprehensively. And after the match, I also saw you both sitting in the cafeteria and discussing that same match, that what went right and what went wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, just the kind of prep. I mean, it is something which has been going on for years. Right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably a bit more attention to detail, and tactically is where I feel like the European players can get a bit more of an advantage. I'm never going to be as physically, in my mind, I was never going to be physically as good as Sameer, so I have to beat him by being a bit cleverer and playing the right style. And I think also, probably at that Glasgow, around that sort of, I'm a bit older. I'm an older player, so I have a good relationship with the coaches. I think it was Pete who was coaching me, so he's the head coach now. So yeah, he's been coaching me since I was 18. So we've had 10 plus years of relationship, and we can go back and forth with tactics and that sort of thing. So. Yeah, I think when I got older, that sort of thing, it was easier for me to get into the detail a bit more. I think when I was younger, I didn't want to hear too much detail because it was hard for me to process everything. But as I got older, it was a bit easier for me to process that and understanding my own game a bit more. Even when I was younger, I had a game style, but if I was playing someone, as an example, I always struggled to play Winky Wong because he was very good attack, and I couldn't get it through him, but I would always feel like he was winning points with his attack, so I need to win points with my attack. But that wasn't the right way to win the game against him. So I would always struggle to play against him because of that. And I didn't play him that much when I got older, but yeah, I played him a lot when I was younger and just kept losing because his attack was better than mine, but I was trying to beat him with his game style rather than, trying to play the right game style to beat him. So yeah, it was... like I said, I think it's when I got a bit older and understood my game a bit more, it was easier for me to have those conversations. And yeah, I think the coaches are more open to that probably in Europe, I would say.
But talking of match prep and video analysis, I mean, something we in Asia struggle a little bit with purely because of the number and the volume of players and the coach to student ratio being, skewed. So that is something that, I mean, we realize that we need to do a lot more of it, but we don't get down really to doing it. And it's a lot more focus on the physical side of things. Yeah. So
I actually disagree on that. I mean, I've seen Chinese and the Malaysian doing a lot of video analysis. I think India as a country struggles.
I think it's getting more and more, especially you said Japan and Taipei and all those. They're getting more and more support staff coming with the team.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely getting more, but I think that was probably Europe started or were better at that previously.
True.
I guess in India you there probably could be. I mean, Shlok, this is a role for you.
We're still not doing it. I mean, we don't have an analyst on board during tournaments, and we are still struggling. And going back to my playing career, there wasn't a coach who did a lot of analysis like Peter did for you, and sitting down before the matches with pointers. I think as a country, if India needs to move forward, I think this is also one of the approaches we need to take, because obviously we are not as explosively strong as the Chinese or the Koreans. I think in terms of our game style, we are close to the Europeans, but I think we should take that from Rajiv and hope that he doesn't beat our players in the future.
All right. So I think on that note, let's take a quick break. Stay tuned, guys. You're listening to The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank the sponsors on our network this week, Seat Tires. So we had a fantastic week. Tune into This Round is on Me, where Gauri Devidayal has a chat with Divya Ravichandran on the issues of waste management in India and how recycling, composting, and using eco-friendly alternatives can help. On Filter Coffee Podcast, Karthik speaks with Lux Narayan about his book Name, Place, Animal, Thing, an inspiring non-fiction fable about hope, positivity, and living your best life. On All Things Policy, Anirudh Kanisetti talks to Prateek Wakre and Rohan Sheth about Australia's conflict with Facebook and Google and what this means for big tech companies and the news ecosystem. On the Simplified Podcast, Naren and Tony talk about greenwashing, which is businesses unfairly marketing themselves as eco-friendly just to ride the sustainability wave. You should also check out the Cyrus Says episode with Varun Deshpande of the Good Food Institute, where they talk about plant-based alternatives. Varun does a great show with us called Feeding 10 Billion. Do check out this episode of Cyrus Says. They have a really interesting conversation. On the Millennial Athlete, Tanvi and Shlok speak to the badminton doubles player Satvik Sairaj about his successful stints at some of the recently concluded games. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. We still have, unfortunately, Liverpool fan Rajiv Ouseph with us today. Rajiv, if I'm not wrong, the European Championship victory is probably your biggest and most memorable victory in your playing career?
Yeah, I would say so. You know, it was a big deal. You know, at the time, I don't think England had won men's singles for 20 plus years. So yeah, it was. I'd had a couple of, or maybe one final before that. So yeah, it was, you know, winning that tournament and winning it in Denmark as well against two Danish guys in the semis and the finals was it was quite special.
Yeah, and you know, Denmark, you know, had a lot of good players, and you beat a lot of them, and you beat your very good friend Hans in the finals, which
I think it was the
semis. And whom did you beat in the finals?
Anders in the
yeah. I mean,
on paper that looks very good, but I mean he was about 15, so.
What are your memories from that tournament? What did you do anything different so that perfect week came around? You know, especially your prep for a big tournament like the European Championship or the Olympics or the Commonwealth. Was there something different in the back of your mind before you would go for a big tournament like that?
Yeah, I think. I mean, looking back, I don't think I did anything extra special. I just think I was very confident going into that tournament, and you know, in the first couple of rounds, I actually had a few tricky rounds. I had Lucas Clairbout from France, who, you know, could be quite tricky. I had Zilberman from Israel, who, you know, they're not like top players in the world, but they're like on their day, they can be quite tricky to play. And I managed to beat them all quite comfortably in 2 sets, and just, you know, had that build up of confidence through the week. And then when I got to play Hans, obviously, I know it's going to be a difficult game. I think he had a match point, so it was just, you know, fighting hard to try and get through that game. And then for me, a big thing was on the Sunday morning when I woke up. Like, I always felt like physically that was going to be the thing that let me down. So I woke up to have a knock-up on the Sunday morning to do my pre-match training like I do. And I felt like, actually, I feel all right. And my legs were like good, and I was like, oh, actually, I could maybe win today. You know, I felt like I had that belief. Whereas when I went to sleep on the Saturday, I was like, no, I'm tired. I don't think I'm going to win. But then I woke up on the Sunday and had that good belief, and yeah, I was very lucky. I felt like, you know, I was playing well, but also had a little bit of luck. And yeah, when I look back now, I think it was just kind of meant to be sort of week. And yeah, I was just, you know, obviously thrilled to win.
Compensated from your loss at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. I think the world somewhere compensates
balance.
You know.
Yeah, but those things, like, I mean, I was even saying to the players like this week in training that, you know, the high of the highs only sort of, you only realize them how low the lows are. Like, and you know, we've got in the hall in Milton Keynes, we've got like pictures of the medalists from, you know, major championships. So, you know, all the doubles players from the Olympics and Worlds and stuff like that. And I was saying to the other players that, you know, they're obviously on the wall here like 2 or 3 times, but they played 400 tournaments, so they're not on the wall the other times. So, you know, there's a lot of losses and failure to learn from to get on the wall, and yeah, it's just how you deal with them and how you deal with the losses. I think as I got older, I dealt with losses easier and better and learned from them. Whereas when I was younger, I just thought, oh my God, I'm so rubbish, that's why I've lost. And just didn't learn anything from it.
I remember reading a sign at Milton Keynes which said that we don't train because we like training. We train because we need to win.
Yeah.
I think that's Nathan and his partner's picture and the sign below that.
Yeah, that's there's a few of those sorts of quotes around the hall. Just when you're struggling doing shadows, looking at that sign.
Well, talking of shadows, it takes me back to...
I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this. No, go. I was waiting for this to come. Go first.
Does it remind you of someone? Did someone who was the first person who made you do shadows, Rajiv?
You mean Tom?
Yeah. None other than Tom.
None other than Tom. I know, because obviously one of the other coaches who coaches the singles with me is Julia Quinn, who Tom used to coach, and we always reminisce about Tom and the fact that he was making us do all this shadow, and my mum and dad are like family friends with him, so I knew him from quite young. So, and he always thought, I mean, rightly, that I was very lazy from a young age. So he would.
I've heard all the stories.
Yeah, I bet you have. He was just very on my case all the time, and I just couldn't get away from him. And if I made a mistake, he would say, "You did that on purpose to get a rest," or something like that.
Everyone's been at the receiving end of Tom's
I think that probably made me a lot stronger mentally than any other training I could do. Just having 1 or 2 sessions with Tom will make you mentally stronger. So no, I always I remember when I was in Indian Open one year, and Ajay had played, I can't remember who, but he lost like 23-21 in the third against someone really good, like someone top 20 in the world, I think, and I just came off the bus and saw the score, and then I saw Tom just talking to Ajay, and Tom was like, "Why didn't you win the game?" And I thought he's played so well to get that close. And all he can say is, "Why didn't you play that well?" But he just wanted the players to be better, and his passion was so good that I look back and think when I was a child or a teenager or a young man that I couldn't see that, but I can see it now. It just always makes us smile.
Shout out to Tom John.
Yeah.
He's of course in England now, but we've all had some tough training under him. So, and he's really brought out the best in all of us.
Talking about coaching, and now that I have become a mentor/coach, I feel that satisfaction when I'm making somebody do some shadows. Do you feel that same satisfaction? I love it when I don't have to do it, and when my students do it.
I think the players are sort of worried at how much I'm enjoying it, and I think I didn't realize I would so much. But
they're just watching there with your stopwatch and go.
Yeah, and then they're always looking at me for the time. They're like, because I'm always stop, and then is that the same time? I'm like, don't worry, I've got the time. Don't worry. But I think that was the thing. I mean, someone asked me, like a club player or someone, I can't remember, it was something on Twitter, if I did like a Q&A or something, and they just asked me like, what's the training that you would recommend the most? And I just said, basically, what's the thing you hate doing the most? And for me, it was shadow. So I was like, just do more of that, because I hated doing it. It was so boring. And I would, for whatever reason, when I was doing it at Milton Keynes, the doubles play, I'd look over at the doubles players and they would do serve return or something I would think is so easy. And I'd just be doing shadow and feel so tired. And I'd look over and hate all of the doubles players in the hall at that time. And then, but after you finish it, I feel like it's very not rewarding, but you feel like a sense of satisfaction.
Yeah.
So, I try to remind that to the players that when they finish, they'll be happy with me. But I think it only works if they hate me while they're doing the shadow.
I think Tanvi and Ajay Jairam are the only people in the world who enjoy doing shadows.
Yeah, I know. I mean, every Monday morning, Anu asks us, so do you guys want to do some corner work or shadows? And I think me and Ajay do shadows.
Why would you even raise your hand? Which shadows?
Actually, I'll tell you... so Carl, he when we were really young, he managed to get into a Danish team, and he went over to Denmark for a first match, and the manager was like, "Oh, do you want to meet Peter Rasmussen? The old world champion from Denmark?" And he said, "Yeah, I'd love to meet him." So they drove to the hall, and he was just sweating. And Carl said, "Oh, have you been doing a run or something?" And he said, "No, I just booked a court and did shadow for an hour on my own." And Carl was like laughing, had never heard that before. Someone just booked a court to do shadow for CV. So there's probably others. That must have been Tom's influence on him as well.
Yeah. I mean, if you've trained with Tom, you can't not do shadows. You'll realize that it just turns your game around. So
all the upcoming players out there, as you can see, how important they're stressing on the fact that how important shadows is. Please do your shadows if you want to become a good player or a great player like Tanvi or Rajiv. If you don't do your shadows, you're not going to get those victories. And I'm going to write that on a stamp paper for you guys. So do your shadows just like you eat your green vegetables. I sound like an uncle now. I should need to stop.
Yeah, quite.
Eat your greens.
Quite so. Eat your greens. All right. So coming to, you're a father now. So how is that responsibility? How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, it's very different. I think it's very different as a player. So when my son, he was born in September 2018, and then I actually went for a tournament, a 3-week tournament, the week after. God. And that was slightly surreal. But now, obviously, with the pandemic and stuff, there's not as much travel, so I'm getting to spend a good amount of time with him, and it's very enjoyable. He's got so much energy, which I don't know where he got that from, because that's not me at all. He loves just playing outside and just always non-stop running around. I come back from training and sometimes I've got to do a session that finishes at 7, and then I'll come back in and he just running to the door asking me to play football as soon as I come in, and I'm like, I need to sit down for 2 minutes, and he just says no. Yeah. He said no, you have to play football with me now. But it's so nice to see him growing up and learning new things and learning stuff, and trying to teach him some good things, but it's more my wife who's teaching him the good stuff. So
he was also a former player.
She is. So hopefully he'll be sporty. Yeah. But obviously my wife played badminton for England, but her family is actually quite big into cricket.
Oh,
her brother and dad used to play cricket, and her uncle played cricket for England. So
that's a lot of sporting genes. In your son. Also, he plays football, but just the fact that you support Liverpool, so that's off the table. So it's probably cricket or badminton.
Well, actually, my wife's dad has taught him that Marcus Rashford is his favourite footballer now. So he just keeps telling me he's Rashford all the time.
Okay, not bad. I'll take that. I'll take United. No, I'll take Liverpool.
But we just want it, for me, I'd want him just to play any sport and just try them all. I'm not going to push him into one thing in particular, but I would just like him to play sport, which at the moment he loves doing. So no, that's good.
One thing's for sure, if he does take up badminton, there'll be one stroke for sure, which will be the overhead clip down the line, which goes straight towards the line. So we'll know, okay, that's Rajiv's son.
Hopefully he'll get that. I mean, I'm finding it hard to teach people that, because that was just something I learned through probably being too lazy to get behind it, that I learned that shot. Hard to teach people that without making them lazy. So yeah.
Okay.
Any plans on visiting India with him?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to. Obviously, with the virus, it's difficult. Yeah, all my aunties and uncles and stuff are we're sending them videos now. I mean, you guys probably know how much Indians love WhatsApp and WhatsApp videos sharing. We've got a family WhatsApp group with just 400 messages a day from.
It's on mute all the time. So many videos, and even our FPL group's got so much stuff on it. We do plan to go over there, and I always thought when I finished playing that I would go and visit India more, but just with what's happening with the world, it's been a bit more difficult. And we will. I'm sure he'll love being looked after by all the aunties and uncles when he goes over there. Yeah. Okay. So before we end, this is a question which I asked to a lot of senior players. Who are your top 5 prospects from Europe? Who are going to make a mark in world badminton in the next three seasons? Your top 5 picks.
Oof, that's a tough one. Were we talking any event or just
any event?
Any event. I'll go. I think Christo Popov probably. I think he's got big potential. Obviously watched him play last week, and he probably didn't play that well against the English team, but then he probably showed a bit more of what he's capable of when he played Victor in the final match.
Yeah.
Obviously, I went to World Juniors like 2 years ago. That was my first tournament as a coach, and then that was when I saw, I think, the guys that won the men's doubles, that Carnando and Martin.
Yeah,
they were very good.
They made their mark at the Thailand Open.
Yeah. So obviously they beat the top English pair.
They also beat Anos and Kim. So
so I mean, I watched them and it looked like seniors playing in that junior tournament. You know what I mean? They were just so organised and so good, and just like nice to watch. So those guys, I'm trying not. I don't want to be too like English centric, but I actually think there's a young women's doubles player from Denmark, Mageland and Raven. I think they could be quite good. I think they got pushed quite early into the senior team, and I think they're playing quite a lot of
senior events,
like team events and stuff like that. Yeah, and already seem to be like one of the top pairs.
Last 2 picks, come on. You can put an English pick. It's okay.
Well, I'll save that one to the end.
Okay. He's building it up. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think of who else. I'll say Laksha Sen. He had a little stint in England actually, when they were playing the Scottish, I think, and then those sorts of tournaments. Yeah. So I got a little insight into him, and he's a funny character. But obviously so much potential with him to be a top player. Just very good skills. A little bit lazy, but everyone needs that. So I think he could be very good. And I'm going to be such a PC answer, but I'll just say like a lot of English juniors, so I'm not going to name anyone in particular, but it's difficult to name one person in particular.
They're going to hold you to ransom if you take
exactly. But I mean, I'm just hopeful that a few English players can make the step up. Obviously, you've seen like Ben Lane and Sean Vendy make that step in the last Thailand tournament.
They've been impressive,
and so we're hoping to follow that blueprint for the next lot of younger players coming through. So that's my English but not specific answer.
Great. I would like to take a pick. I think Harry Wang has got a big future ahead of him. That's my pick. And with Rajiv at the coaching setup, I'm pretty sure we are going to hear a lot of him in the next couple of seasons. Hopefully this pandemic comes to an end and tournaments resume. So we are going to see a lot of Harry Wang also.
So before we wrap up, just one last question. We had PV Sindhu train with you for a brief stint before the Thailand Open. How is it coaching world champion PV Sindhu?
I wouldn't say there was a lot of coaching from my side. It was obviously very inspirational for our young girls in particular, just to see how she trains and what she does. Just the sort of her physicality for a girl I think it's really good to see. Like we touched upon before, like we don't have that many we don't have any world class like women singles players. So for them to see what that looks like and what sort of training she does, and she was very just easy to sort of work with. I would say things to her like, what do you want to do? Do you want to do this and do you want to do that? And she was very happy to do anything. She didn't ever say no to me. Not that I was like tell her exactly what to do, but it was just a bit more just getting to see her up close and personal. And I think she was very good with them as well. Like if they asked her any questions, she was more than happy to answer them. And it was a nice experience for them. Also, just for me to work with someone of that level as well, it was good. It was very good. And I was hoping she was going to do a bit better in the Thailand tournaments, but hopefully she's just saving that for the
big events,
for the Olympics.
She's a player of big events. If I'm not wrong, weren't you teammates in the Chennai team together?
I was in Chennai, but I don't think she was there.
So you overlapped. You didn't. You were not.
We didn't overlap. No. We didn't overlap. No, that. I think when I was there, as in the Indian League, it was like I think Marin was.
Yeah, I think you had Kashyap 1 year also as a teammate.
Yeah, Kashyap. Yeah, he's.
I remember spending a lot of time with you and Kashyap in that year. So
yeah. Always, I think that, but those PBL tournaments for me were like such a good experience. Like just training and playing with different people from different countries, and never really had that experience before, obviously in team events. And I look at like the Indian, the Cricket League, the IPL, and just seeing how good the Indian young cricketers are now, and how how fearless they are now. And I think that actually helped, say, someone like Ben and Sean, because they were in a team with Ivanov and all these great players. And then when they play against them, you're less of a fear factor when you play them, because you kind of know them a little bit more and know how they play. And I mean, Ivanov's still scary, so but you get a feel for how they play. And I think they played against Ashan and Setyawan, and you don't always get the through rounds in big tournaments to play against those players. So that was definitely a good experience for me. And being the first champion, I've always got a special place in my heart.
Okay.
All right.
On that note, we come to an end of another episode of the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media handle, that is @IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you have any suggestions or feedback, please connect to me on Instagram and on any social media platform. My handle is @SHLOKH95.
And you can write to me on @TanviLad93 on Instagram and Twitter.
And Rajiv is always present on Twitter with his banter anyways. Until then, ciao. We shall be back very soon with another fresh episode of the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. Thank you, everyone.
What are some of the radical changes that are now shaping our workspace? With physical distancing and heightened safety protocols being the norm, will technology finally make its large-scale entry to the workspace? Will design as we know it change for the long term? Is it possible for the Indian commercial real estate space to adopt a 360-degree approach to sustainability? Join our hosts at the Future of Space podcast by RMZ as we deliberate with industry leaders, analysts, and bright young minds on the way forward for the workspace given the new COVID normal. Tune in to the IVM Podcasts app or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts.
Working Monday to Friday glued to your chair making you feel dull? Worry not. Get your 5-minute weekly dose of travel around the world with postcards from nowhere. Join me every Thursday as I explore the strange, obscure, and fascinating parts of the world and bring out facets of travel you may not have thought of before. You can find us on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.